Are we rolling? I think we're rolling. I got an ice Americano, and I'm ready to yap. Ooh, that's so freaking good. What's up, people? All right, so I know that the title is very interesting, and it's true. It's all true. So we're gonna dive deep into this story that I want to share with you. And the reason I want to share this story with you is because your boy is getting older. Next week is his birthday, and I wanted to do a sort of like reflection, a look back, and to see kind of the progress and the journey of my life in the past 25 years and how I got to where I am today. And I want to share this story because everybody, maybe you don't have the same kind of background or story as me, but we all have something that is hard. We all have something that we had to work through. We all have something that maybe something happened a long time ago, but it's still affecting us today. And I want to share kind of like a testimony of something that happened in my life, how it affects me every day, even up to today, and kind of how I navigate moving forward, because we don't want to be stuck in something that is potentially holding us back. We want to move forward. We want to reflect, process the new learnings, and then move forward. Sound good? All right, so let's rewind 25 years ago. Not that long, by the way. Not that long. 1999 in China, which is when this all happened. Your boy, was involved in a fire incident. And essentially what happened is, after I was born, I was burned in a fire from the waist down. I have scars on my stomach. I have scars all over my legs, my left leg, my right leg. I even have a little scar. You might not be able to see it, but somewhere right there on my hand as well, and a few on this side too. And the fire incident was so bad that not only did I get scarring, but I also have like partially of my limbs, which would require me to wear a prosthetic leg to get around. Yeah, so obviously not a fun incident to be involved in. We don't know a lot of information about actually what happened. And here's why. After I was burned, I was then left or abandoned at an orphanage on the doorsteps, where I was wrapped with fresh wounds on my body. It clearly looked like I was not doing well. And the orphanage, I don't know when they saw me, but they saw me, and they immediately took me in and gave me the care that I needed and the surgeries that I needed too, because I think the burns were pretty bad. And so the orphanage, they took me in, and that's where I would be for the next 6 years of my life. And in the orphanage, we didn't have a lot of resources in terms of like equipment and stuff. And so when I was getting around the orphanage, I don't remember a lot, but I know I didn't have a prosthetic leg to help me get around. And what I would do is I would take a shoe and tie it real tight around the kind of like where my limb was missing, and I would just kind of make my way around, or I would ride a little scooter bike thing that we had. And yeah, so I made do with what I had there. A lot of people like to adopt kids that are really young so that they can grow up with the kid. And so for me, I think that was the aim, was to get adopted early. But unfortunately, that just didn't happen. And so year 1 would go by, year 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 6. It takes someone special. It takes a lot of heart. It takes a lot of patience to adopt somebody who needs that extra care and that extra love. And so it took a little bit of time. And so I would actually stay at the orphanage for 6 years until I finally was able to be adopted by an American family from Seattle, Washington. And mind you, I'm just a kid. I have no idea what is happening. I think that the people that I see every day, that they're my family, and I just think nothing of it. But then I just remember how one day these people that didn't look like me came, and they were showering me gifts, and just really kind. And then all of a sudden I'm with them a lot, and then before you know it, I'm saying goodbye to the people at the orphanage and the foster family I was in temporarily, and then boom, I'm on a plane headed to Seattle, Washington. And then when I actually got to America, I was just so confused what was happening. But I was so blessed that the family that I had was so kind and so patient, so loving, that I think it was not very difficult for me to transition to this new life. And my life would forever be changed. You know, I would eventually go on to be able to get the necessary care I needed, and also like a prosthetic leg to help me get around better. So that was the first 6 years of my life. I would say it's all kind of been a blur. Probably my body is masking some of the thoughts, and I just can't remember it. Sometimes it doesn't even feel real. Sometimes I'm like, what, that really happened? Growing up, I never really had the desire to know who my biological family was. I think I was just really content with the family I had, and there was just not a hungry desire. I would say like maybe fast forward till I was like 17, 18, kind of around when like TikTok was starting to come up. I would make videos about, you know, trying to find like my family and share my story, and that got a lot of like a lot of people really resonate with the story, and they would share resources and things that I should check out, and it was a really cool moment. And I also learned that there's a lot of more Chinese adoptees like myself. There's a lot of Asian adoptees and international adoptees in general, more than I ever knew. I was so surprised because, you know, oftentimes something like this, you feel like you're the only one, and it was just really cool to know that there are other people going through similar things. It was just cool to know that you're not by yourself. All right, so that's kind of my testimony, my life, and what has all transpired in the past 25 years is really started from something just pretty awful, and probably not the most ideal start to somebody's life. But I want to share how I continue to stay positive and stay optimistic about life. Very easily could I have looked at my life situation and just disliked it for what it was. It's understandable why some people would. For me, it was just that, like, there's nothing I could have done differently, right? Like, the situation I was in, I was not in control of. We don't know how I was in that fire. We don't know why I was abandoned and left with certain things without any information. We don't know a lot of that, but honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it's already happened. All I can do is control or have influence on what happens next. I think that's been a lot of my mentality in life, and don't get me wrong, I have had a lot of insecurities about my appearance. Being someone with a prosthetic leg too, that was pretty difficult to just being a young guy, and not a lot of people that look like me, and so I faced a lot of of the identity thing. I think not only was I raised by people who don't look like me, the representation of Asians was not great back then, especially in the area where I was growing up. There's no Asians. And then also, being someone with a prosthetic leg and navigating life with that clearly discernible difference than other people. And those are just some of the challenges that I faced growing up. I think the thing that has really just helped me be me is to not be so influenced and trying to impress or please others. When you do that, you sort of invite people and their opinions into how you live your life. And then you have a lot of these mixed feelings about what you should do next. I used to be somebody who tries to, people please and try to be really accommodating, and I think it's still good to obviously be kind and accommodate when necessary. But growing up, I never really thought about these sort of identity things and care what people thought about my prosthetic leg. And I just thought I was me and that's it. And then when I went to school and started meeting more people, is when I started to be more self-conscious about these things and started worrying about all these sort of factors of life. And it was tough because once you sort of let that creep into your mind, it's really hard to get it out. And I started to be so self-conscious about how I appear, my hair, my what am I wearing? Is my maybe I shouldn't wear shorts because people are gonna see I have a leg, and then they're gonna ask me about it, and then it's just gonna be this huge big thing. And then eventually, I went through years and years and years of this, and I finally just realized, you know what? Who cares? Who cares? Like, there's there's so much more to life than all these little details. If I'm gonna live a life like that where I'm constantly thinking about what others are thinking, I'm always gonna be inviting other stakeholders to have an influence on my mentality for that day, and that's not what I want. And I try to remind myself of that when I'm creating content, when I'm working, or anything in life, and just try to have that positive mentality. And whatever it is that you want in your life, I hope that you can just be reminded of the plan that you've set out for yourself, and that you can have that belief in yourself, so much so that you don't get distracted by these that by the noise, and that you don't lose your motivation, your optimism, your positive outlook on life, and to understand that you are strong. You have the strength. You've made it this far. Like, taking a look back on my life, there's just been a lot of challenges that I've had to face through and overcome. But one thing that I try to think about is, like, these are parts of my stories. These, moments are a part of my story, but they're not the entire story. I'm writing the story every minute, hour, day that is happening. I get to have an influence on where that story goes next. I don't let them to become a setback. And I think, it's important to understand the challenges you've overcome, so you can understand what strength it took to overcome, so that you can apply it to the new things that will inevitably come in life. So yeah, 26 years ago, my life changed forever. It started in the most unconventional way that anybody would probably want to start their life. And ever since then, it has been an adventure, to say the least. From this experience, I just realized that life is really what you make it out to be. I could have very easily been somebody who just looked at my past and just let it consume me and but for the most part, I didn't let it get to that point. And there's a lot of factors to how I came to that conclusion. Obviously having a great family, it's a good support system, good friends, being good community, but then also the willingness and self-desire to want to live a good life, and trying to look forward, because when you're looking behind you, you're not seeing where you're going. So it's better to look forward. All right, that's it. That's my yap session. Kind of like random, but I just wanted to share a reflection. It's kind of crazy. 26 years old, man. When I was a kid, I thought 26 was like this, you had life all figured out. And now I'm 26, and I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I feel like I'm so far away from having it like figured out. I can't fathom it. So anyways, I'm gonna enjoy my full last week of being 25. And the next time I see you, wish me luck. All right, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.